Okay, so I want to show you how to create bins for your bar chart or histogram so that you can have it look more like this and less like this. To do that, we first need to start with our data set. So up here we have the Know Thy Customer data set. We have the column called income. If I simply took this column, this is where, let me get rid of this. Okay, if I simply took this column and I said insert recommended charts, it's going to give us some messy looking stuff. It's not as intuitive to have something like this. And frankly, it's just not user friendly. We want to make it easy for our audience or whoever we're using this data for. Maybe it's for ourselves or for our client. So to add it into bins, we're going to have to do a few more steps so that we can make it look like this. So let me take that off and we're just going to recreate this. Now we have to decide for ourselves what the bin limits are. So we're going to start with a column called bin limit. To do this, I simply copied this column over to a new worksheet, pasted it right there. Then I started with a new column called bin limit. We're going to have a new one called bin label and one called bin count. I like to think of bins as kind of buckets or categories. So we have to create our own categories. Now you can decide what these numbers are. If you wanted to do more or less, that's completely up to you. I use the data filter option. So if you go up here to data and you use filter, you can see the drop down box or the drop down arrow. Then you can see, well, we're going to start maybe at 5,000 and go up to 63,000 or a little bit more than 63,000. So I started with 5,000. I actually went above and went to 75,000. You don't actually need all that, but that's completely up to you. And we're going to use one extra row just to make sure we catch anything that goes beyond our limits. Again, totally up to you. So actually, for the sake of this one, let's do it like this, because we know we end about here. So I'm going to put those in. So we're going to have 5,000, 10,000. Now, if you wanted to do it by 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, that's completely up to you too. With the bin limits, you have to retype all of this. So I've actually typed it here. I'm just going to copy it over and paste it, but you would have to retype it. That's another benefit of having fewer categories, is that then you wouldn't have to do that. Now in this last one, since we've changed this a little bit, I'm going to add the category of anything above 65,000. And then our frequency is what we need here. So this is a formula. And to get the formula, you can come up to your formula command, click frequency. If it doesn't show, you may need to type it. Once you type it, it should show up. And your data array is this first column of data. It's everything that you have to offer, starting with the data. So not the title, but the data. So we're going to start with row 2 and go all the way down to row 601. Then you just pop into that next bucket, go back to the top, and this is your bins. So in this case, we are going to use these as our categories, and then we're going to hit, oh, yeah, and then we're going to hit OK. There we go. And so then it automatically populates that last row for us to say, is there anything over 65,000? No, there's not. And you could come in here and check to make sure. So if we went to this, our largest number is 63,130. So there's nothing above 65,000. Now what we can do is we have a user-friendly tool here to go ahead and say insert recommended charts. Let me get rid of that. And then ta-da, now we have a very nice user-friendly bar chart or histogram that is way more user-friendly than what we had in the other one. All right, so I hope that helps. The key to this is setting these bins. And like I said, you get to set these limits. Just make sure you have them labeled correctly. I like to make sure that the column's wide enough so you can go through and double check. For example, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Make sure that this row or this side ends with ones because we're just offsetting it by $1. So we can see that there's 105 people in between the $20,000 and $1 and $25,000 range. All right, I hope that helps. Have a great day.